4 world championships, 64 race wins, the most dominant driver Formula One has seen in a decade. And 3 races into the 2026 season, Max Verstappen is 8th in the standings, 43 points behind the leader, eliminated in Q2 at Suzuka, finishing 32 seconds behind a 19-year-old rookie. But here's the part no one expected. After the Japanese Grand Prix, BBC Sport asked Verstappen a simple question. Will you retire at the end of this season? His answer wasn't no, it was, is it worth it? That's a 4-time world champion, questioning whether Formula One is still worth his time. This is the story of how F1 rewrote its own rulebook to survive the future, and in doing so, may have broken the greatest driver of his generation. To understand what happened to Verstappen, you need to understand what happened to the cars. For 2026, the FIA changed everything at once. Not one thing, everything. The power unit, the aerodynamics, the tires, the fuel, all of it, in a single regulation cycle. The biggest change? The engine. Under the old rules, the electric motor, the MGU-K, produced 120 kilowatts. For 2026, that number jumped to 350 kilowatts, nearly 3 times more electric power. The result is a 50-50 split between combustion and electric energy, half petrol, half battery. That has never existed in Formula One before. On top of that, the FIA introduced active aerodynamics, movable bodywork that shifts between a low-drag mode on straights and a high downforce mode in corners. They also added what's being called the boost button, a driver-activated surge of electric power for overtaking. On paper, it sounds exciting. In practice, it created a problem no one fully anticipated. Here's what actually happens on track. A driver uses the boost to overtake on a straight that drains the battery. On the next straight, they have no energy left. The car behind, fully charged, blasts past them. And then the cycle repeats. Drivers aren't racing each other. They're trading positions based on battery charge. Lap after lap, straight after straight. Max Verstappen watched this happen, and he had one word for it. After the Chinese Grand Prix, Verstappen stood in front of the media and said something no reigning champion has ever said about Formula One. It's still terrible. If someone likes this, then you really don't know what racing is about. It's not fun at all. It's playing Mario Kart. This is not racing. That quote went everywhere. ESPN, BBC, social media, millions of views in hours, but he wasn't done. Look at the racing, he continued. You are boosting past, then you run out of battery the next straight. They boost past you again. For me, it's just a joke. In another interview, he called the 2026 cars Formula E on steroids. Not a compliment, a diagnosis. And then came the sarcasm. When asked about preparing for the new regulations, Verstappen deadpanned, I found a cheaper solution. I swapped the simulator for my Nintendo Switch. I'm practicing with Mario Kart, actually. Finding the mushrooms is going quite well. The paddock laughed, but behind the humor, something was breaking. At Suzuka, Verstappen was eliminated in Q2. He finished 8th, 32 seconds behind race winner Kimi Antonelli. For context, in 2023, Verstappen won 19 out of 22 races. Now he can't make it out of qualifying. Red Bull's problems go deeper than pace. The new regulations require drivers to harvest energy during the formation lap to get a clean start. Verstappen has failed to do this properly at every single race so far. His starts have been catastrophic. After Japan, his tone shifted. The sarcasm was gone. I'm not even frustrated anymore. I'm beyond that. I don't know the right word in English for it. And then the line that shook the entire sport. I want to be here to have fun and enjoy myself. At the moment, that's not really the case. If you've been watching F1 for more than a year, you know this. When the fire inside the sport's most competitive driver goes out, something is deeply wrong. And if you're new to this channel and finding this breakdown useful, consider subscribing, because this story is far from over. Here's what makes this story bigger than one driver. Verstappen isn't alone, not even close. Carlos Sainz called the active aerodynamics dangerous. Esteban Ocon described the racing as painful. Sergio Perez said it was a lot less fun. Charles Leclerc vented about energy limits destroying his qualifying lap at Suzuka. And then came the crash that changed the conversation entirely. At the Japanese Grand Prix, Haas driver Oliver Bearman hit the wall at 50 Gs. 50 Gs. The closing speed between his car and Franco Colapinto's exceeded 50 kilometers per hour. The difference in velocity, caused by one car harvesting energy while the other deployed it. Bearman walked away, barely. He blamed the new regulations directly. The FIA responded by scheduling an emergency meeting in April to assess the 2026 rules. That alone tells you everything. 3 races in, and the governing body is already reconsidering its own regulations. But perhaps the most damaging moment wasn't on track. It was online. Fans noticed that Formula One's official social media accounts were hiding critical replies. Posts about overtaking statistics, designed to promote the new era, had more hidden comments than visible ones. Accusations of narrative control spread fast. When the sport's own audience feels silenced, the problem isn't perception, it's trust. And here's the twist that makes all of this even more painful for Verstappen. While the 4-time champion struggles in 8th place, a 19-year-old Italian is rewriting the record books. Kimi Antonelli, 2 wins in 3 races, 2 pole positions, 72 points, the youngest championship leader in Formula One history. At Suzuka, Antonelli had a terrible start, dropped to 6th on the opening lap, but when the safety car came out after Behrman's crash, Mercedes played the strategy perfectly. Antonelli emerged in the lead and won by nearly 14 seconds. He's so young that when he stood on the top step of the podium in China, they couldn't give him champagne. He's not old enough to drink it. This is the driver who replaced Lewis Hamilton at Mercedes. And in 3 races, he's made it look like the right call. The contrast is brutal. The new regulations that are destroying Verstappen's season are the same regulations that are building Antonelli's legend, which raises an uncomfortable question. Did F1 break its rules, or did it just break one man's dominance? On March 29th, Dutch newspaper De Telegraaf, the most reliable source on all things Verstappen, reported that the 4-time champion is genuinely considering walking away from Formula One. Not at the end of his contract. At the end of 2026, Verstappen himself has fueled the speculation. As a kid, this is what I wanted to do, he said. But it's also not about the money. I have a lot of other projects, GT3 racing, building a team. It's not like if I stop here, I'm not going to do anything. That's not a driver talking about a bad weekend. That's a driver describing life after F1. Juan Pablo Montoya fired back. There's the door. He argued that drivers who mock the sport publicly should face consequences, the way American leagues handle dissent.
But here's what Montoya and others might be missing. The coming weeks are critical. F1 has a gap in the calendar. Bahrain and Saudi Arabia were canceled due to the conflict in the Middle East. The next race isn't until Miami on May 3rd. That gives Verstappen, the FIA, and Red Bull over a month to decide the future. Some analysts believe this is pressure tactics. That Verstappen, backed by his father Jos and manager Raymond Vermeulen, is forcing F1's hand, demanding rule changes before the April F1A meeting. Others believe it's real, that the man who won 4 world championships before turning 28 has simply decided that this version of Formula One isn't the sport he fell in love with. The truth is, we don't know yet, and neither does he. Formula One changed its rules to survive the future, more electric, more sustainable, more entertaining, at least on paper. But 3 races in, its greatest driver is calling it a joke. Its fans are being silenced, and a 50G crash has forced the FIA back to the drawing board. The question isn't whether Max Verstappen will retire. The question is whether Formula One can fix what it broke before it loses the driver who defined an era. What do you think? Is Verstappen right to call this Mario Kart? Or does F1 need to evolve, even if it means leaving its champion behind? Drop your take in the comments.